Long before the age of heroes, before the walls of Troy, and even before the first temples rose, there was a war that shook the cosmos itself. Titans clashed, gods rebelled, and from the chaos rose a new order, the Olympians. Today, we uncover the epic story of Zeus, Hera, and the dawn of Mount Olympus. Welcome to History Recap Official, where ancient myths come to life. If you've ever wondered how the Olympian gods came to power and how the legendary Mount Olympus became the heart of Greek mythology, you're in the right place. Make sure to stay till the end, because this story is more than just gods and battles. It is the foundation of the myths that shaped an entire civilization. This first section covers the early rise of Zeus, the Titanomachy, the defeat of the Titans, and the establishment of Mount Olympus. In the beginning, there was chaos, a swirling void without shape, without time, without life. From this primordial emptiness emerged Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky, whose vast expanse stretched over the newborn world. Gaia and Uranus gave birth to the first beings, the Titans, giant deities whose power rivaled the forces of nature themselves. Among these primordial beings were Cronus and Rhea, whose destinies would intertwine in a story of betrayal, prophecy, and cosmic upheaval. Cronus, ambitious and fearful of losing his power, seized control of the cosmos from his father Uranus. But the fates, those inexorable weavers of destiny, foretold that Cronus himself would one day be overthrown by his own child. Terrified of this prophecy, Cronus swallowed each of his offspring at birth: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, leaving the world in the grip of a tyrannical reign. Yet, fate is a force no god, no titan, and no mortal can escape. Rhea, weary and desperate, tricked Cronus when her youngest child, Zeus, was born. She gave Cronus a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes, which he swallowed without suspicion. Meanwhile, Zeus was spirited away to the remote island of Crete, where he was raised in secret, nourished by the milk of the divine goat Amalthea and protected by mystical guardians. As Zeus grew, so too did his strength, wisdom, and determination. He was no ordinary god. He carried within him the spark of destiny itself. And when he came of age, he returned to challenge his father, not in stealth or trickery alone, but with a cunning born of both mortal and divine insight. With the help of the goddess Metis, who provided him with a potion to make Cronus vomit, Zeus released his siblings, freeing them from their digestive prison and setting the stage for a war that would echo through eternity. This was the Titanomachy, the great war between the Olympians and the Titans. For 10 years, the heavens and earth trembled under the fury of the combatants. Mountains shattered, seas roiled, and lightning scorched the sky as Zeus and his allies clashed with the elder Titans. Yet, even in the heat of battle, the Olympians were outnumbered. It was strategy, cunning, and alliances that turned the tide. Zeus forged alliances with the Cyclopes and the Titanomachy as the hundred-handed giants, imprisoned by Cronus in the depths of Tartarus. The Cyclopes, in gratitude, gifted Zeus the thunderbolt, Poseidon the trident, and Hades the helm of darkness. Armed with these divine weapons, the Olympians became unstoppable. Thunderbolts hurled from Zeus' hands shattered Titan fortresses, while Poseidon's trident stirred oceans into deadly waves. Hades' helm rendered him invisible, allowing him to strike unseen. After a decade of relentless conflict, the Titans were defeated. They were cast into Tartarus, a prison deep beneath the earth, guarded by the Titanomachy. With the old order vanquished, Zeus claimed his place as the king of gods, establishing a new hierarchy upon Mount Olympus. But victory was only the beginning. Power is meaningless without order, and Zeus knew that the gods, once free from the shadow of Cronus, needed guidance and law to prevent chaos from returning. Among the first of his acts was to divide the realms. Hades would rule the underworld, governing the dead and the mysteries of life beyond. Poseidon was given dominion over the seas, controlling storms, tides, and the creatures of the deep. The skies and the heavens were Zeus' domain, where he would wield thunder and lightning to maintain balance and justice. Hera, whom Zeus married, became queen of the gods, goddess of marriage, family, and the sacred bonds that held Olympus together. Together, Zeus and Hera were the pillars of the Olympian order, enforcing laws, settling disputes, and shaping the destinies of gods and mortals alike. Yet even among the gods, rivalry, jealousy, and ambition never disappeared. Their stories were not free from conflict. They were eternal, dramatic, and deeply human in their passions. The rise of the Olympians was not merely a tale of war, it was a story of cleverness, wisdom, and the delicate balance between power and responsibility. Zeus' reign brought stability to a cosmos that had been wild, violent, and unpredictable. The Olympians established rituals, myths, and cults that would be remembered for millennia, their stories woven into the very fabric of Greek culture. Temples rose in their honor, poets and bards immortalized their deeds, and the echoes of their battles shaped the imagination of generations. Yet the Olympians did not rule alone. Each god and goddess had a role, a sphere of influence, and a personality that reflected both their divine nature and the complexities of human experience. Athena, born from Zeus' head fully grown and armored, became the goddess of wisdom and strategy, guiding heroes and mortals alike. Apollo, radiant and honoring, brought light, music, and prophecy, while his twin sister Artemis guarded the wilderness and the sanctity of life. Ares represented the raw, unbridled fury of war, while Aphrodite embodied love, beauty, and desire, shaping both hearts and fates with subtle, irresistible power. Through these gods, the ancient Greeks found reflections of themselves, their virtues, their flaws, their passions, and their fears. The tales of Zeus and Hera, of battles, betrayals, and reconciliations, were more than stories. They were the blueprint of morality, power, and human ambition in divine form. The reign of the Olympians also established the rules of engagement between gods and mortals. Unlike the distant Titans, the Olympians were intimately involved in the affairs of humanity. They could be capricious, loving, wrathful, or benevolent, but always present. Heroes like Heracles, Perseus, and Theseus would rise not in isolation but through the influence of the Olympian gods, their fates entwined with divine will. Cities and kingdoms flourished or fell depending on the favor or wrath of these powerful beings. Even as Zeus' rule solidified, challenges continued. Titans occasionally attempted to rise again. Monsters from the edges of the earth threatened humanity, and the gods themselves quarreled among their own ranks. But each story, each conflict, only reinforced the structure of Olympus and the supremacy of the new order. The Olympians' victory was not a single event. It was an ongoing testament to their resilience, ingenuity, and the enduring power of their myths. Mount Olympus became more than a mountain. It was a symbol. It was the home of gods, the source of divine justice, and a beacon of civilization and order. The narratives of Zeus, Hera, and the Olympians shaped Greek identity, inspired art, drama, and philosophy, and influenced cultures for centuries beyond the Mediterranean. The rise of the Olympians was not just the overthrow of the Titans, it was the dawn of a world where myths, morals, and imagination converged to create a timeless legacy. This section will focus on the reign of the Olympians, their divine dynamics, conflicts, and interactions with mortals. Though the Olympians had claimed victory over the Titans, their reign was far from peaceful. Power, after all, is a living force, unpredictable, volatile, and often tested by ambition, desire, and pride. Within Olympus itself, rivalry simmered beneath the surface. Zeus, the king of gods, wielded authority unmatched, yet even he could not escape the complexities of divine politics and personal passions. Hera, his queen, stood as both ally and challenger, a sharp intellect and formidable will often shaping the destiny of gods and mortals alike. Their marriage, revered and sacred, was also fraught with jealousy and intrigue, reflection of the very human qualities that the Olympians embodied. The gods' interactions with one another were as influential as their battles with titans or monsters. Athena, born fully armored from Zeus' mind, quickly became a beacon of wisdom and strategy, often acting as counselor to her father and mediator in disputes among the gods. Apollo, radiant and precise, carried the duality of light and prophecy. His visions could guide or forewarn, and his music could soothe or inflame passions. Artemis, his twin, was the untamed protector of the wild, her arrow swift and unerring, a reminder that even the gods of Olympus could not tame nature entirely. Yet it was the gods' connection to mortals that truly defined the new order. Unlike the Titans, who were distant and abstract, the Olympians were deeply involved in human affairs. Heroes rose and fell under their watchful gaze. Cities prospered or faltered depending on divine favor, and the fates of kings and commoners alike were shaped by Olympian whims. Zeus, with his thunderbolt, symbolized divine authority, rewarding piety and punishing hubris. Hera, vigilant and often jealous, monitored vows and marriages, ensuring that the bonds of society were respected even as she navigated her own challenges with Zeus' infidelities, a tension that produced some of the most enduring myths of love, revenge, and reconciliation. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Olympians' reign was their ability to embody both human traits and divine perfection. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, could inspire unbreakable devotion or devastating obsession, shaping the course of wars and the lives of heroes. Ares, the god of war, personified the chaos of conflict. His presence felt wherever swords clashed and blood was spilled. These gods, though immortal, reflected mortal nature in ways both subtle and dramatic, teaching lessons through their stories and experiences. During this era, mortals began to understand that their world was intertwined with the divine. Temples rose in honor of the Olympians, and rituals, sacrifices, and festivals became central to Greek life. The myths that were told, written, and painted were not just entertainment, they were moral, philosophical, and spiritual guides, providing humans with a framework to understand the universe, the consequences of hubris, and the potential for heroism. Through the Olympians, people glimpsed ideals of justice, wisdom, courage, and love, all framed in stories as vivid and intense as life itself. But the gods' reign was also marked by continual tests and challenges. Monsters, remnants of the chaos before the Titanomachy, still roamed the world, threatening mortals and defying divine order. Typhon, the monstrous child of Gaia, rose in rebellion, challenging Zeus' authority with devastating power. With 100 serpent heads and flames spewing from his eyes, Typhon embodied the raw, chaotic force that the Titans once represented. Yet Zeus, wielding the power of the thunderbolt and the strategic cunning he had learned in his own rise, struck Typhon down, casting him deep into Tartarus, a permanent reminder of the Olympian supremacy. Even as battles raged, diplomacy, alliances, and clever intervention were equally crucial to maintaining order. Hermes, the fleet-footed messenger god, ensured communication among gods and mortals, facilitating strategies, warnings, and subtle interventions that kept the balance. It was a reminder that not all power was brute force. Wisdom, swiftness, and cunning could change outcomes just as dramatically as thunderbolts or tridents. Among mortals, heroes emerged to embody the qualities the Olympians valued or punished. Heracles, the strongest of mortals, undertook labors that reflected divine challenges, testing courage, endurance, and morality. Perseus, guided by Athena and protected by Zeus' favor, achieved feats that seemed impossible, blending divine assistance with mortal ingenuity. These heroes were living bridges between humans and gods, their victories and failures demonstrating the intertwined destinies of both realms. The reign of the Olympians also brought cultural transformation. Poetry, art, theater, and philosophy flourished as humans sought to interpret, honor, and question the gods' actions. Epic tales like the Iliad and Odyssey, though set later, drew heavily on the principles established by the Olympians' rule: courage, cunning, honor, and the consequences of defying divine authority. Through these stories, the gods became more than mythical beings. They became models, mirrors, and teachers for generations of humans seeking meaning in a complex, often chaotic world. Yet, the Olympians were not perfect. Their stories are full of conflict, mistakes, and intense passions. Zeus' numerous affairs, Hera's jealous schemes, Athena's cunning interventions, and Ares' reckless violence all serve to illustrate that even divine beings were subject to emotion, desire, and moral lessons. These imperfections made the myths relatable and compelling, and they ensured that the tales of Olympus would resonate across centuries, surviving even as human civilizations rose and fell around them. Despite challenges, the Olympians' reign stabilized the cosmos. The hierarchy was clear: Zeus at the summit, his siblings and allies each governing their domains, heroes thriving under divine guidance, and mortals learning lessons that shaped law, morality, and society. Olympus became both a literal and symbolic center of Greek culture, a place where myths were born. Justice was conceptualized, and the interplay between power and responsibility was immortalized. The tales of the Olympians' reign also emphasized the cyclical nature of power. Even gods faced consequences, rivalries erupted, and cosmic challenges appeared repeatedly. But each test reinforced the hierarchy, strengthened alliances, and clarified roles, creating a mythology that was as much about governance and order as it was about epic battles and fantastical feats. By the time the Olympians' rule was firmly established, Greek mythology had achieved a structure that would influence not only art, literature, and philosophy, but also the very way humans understood the divine. Zeus' authority, Hera's vigilance, Poseidon's dominion, Hades' guardianship, and the complex interactions of countless other gods set the template for heroism, morality, and cosmic order. Through their reign, the Olympians became eternal, their myths transcending time, offering a window into human nature and the forces that govern both the mortal and divine realms. Mount Olympus, once merely a mountain, became synonymous with power, wisdom, and the interplay between order and chaos. The rise of the Olympians was not simply the overthrow of the Titans. It was the creation of a dynamic, living mythology that intertwined gods, humans, heroes, and monsters in stories of immense depth and lasting impact. This section will cover further divine conflicts, legendary myths, the establishment of rituals and festivals. Even as the Olympians established order on Mount Olympus, their stories were never static. Each god, goddess, and hero brought new dimensions to their reign, creating myths that would endure for millennia. Zeus, though king of the gods, continued to test the boundaries of power and morality. His thunderbolts were not only weapons of war, but instruments of justice, striking down mortals and gods who defied divine law. Yet, his judgments were often tempered by wisdom, cunning, and sometimes even mercy, showing that leadership required balance, not merely force. Hera, queen of the gods, exemplified the complexities of divine authority. As goddess of marriage and family, she upheld sacred bonds among mortals, while navigating her own turbulent relationship with Zeus. Her jealousy over his many affairs became legendary, giving rise to tales of vengeance, cunning, and subtle intervention. Yet, beneath her stern and sometimes wrathful demeanor, Hera was also a guardian of order, ensuring that promises, vows, and familial responsibilities were honored, a principle that shaped the moral framework of Greek society. Poseidon, lord of the seas, wielded his trident to influence not only oceans and storms, but also the course of human events. Mariners, Fishermen and coastal cities prayed for his favor, aware that his mood could shift as swiftly as the tides. Hades, meanwhile, ruled the underworld with a quiet authority, overseeing the realm of the dead and ensuring the balance was maintained between life and death. Though feared, Hades was a just ruler, a reminder that even darkness and endings have their place within the cosmic order. The Olympians' interactions with mortals reached a peak in the Age of Heroes. These larger-than-life figures were often mortal, yet carried the imprint of divine favor or intervention. Heracles, the paragon of strength and endurance, faced the 12 labors tasks set by both mortal kings and Olympian gods that tested his courage, resourcefulness, and morality. Perseus, aided by Athena and Hermes, confronted the monstrous Medusa, a challenge that required not only bravery but intellect and cunning. These heroes became conduits through which the Olympians influenced the mortal realm, teaching lessons of courage, loyalty, and humility. Even artistic expression became a reflection of the gods' power. Temples, sculptures, and festivals celebrated the Olympians, and poetry and theater immortalized their exploits. The myth served as both entertainment and instruction, revealing the values, fears, and aspirations of Greek society. Through these stories, humans learned about hubris, the consequences of defiance, and the virtues that the gods esteemed. Festivals, like the Olympic Games, honored Zeus, while dramatic competitions in theaters across Greece dramatized divine human interactions, embedding the gods into the very fabric of cultural life. Yet Olympus was never without drama. The gods quarreled, rivalries flared, and their passions sometimes mirrored the very chaos they had defeated in the Titans. Ares, god of war, clashed repeatedly with Athena, whose wisdom often countered his raw aggression. Aphrodite's influence over love and desire created alliances and conflicts among both gods and mortals, demonstrating that emotion, even divine emotion, was a force as potent as strength or strategy. Hermes, the cunning messenger, often mediated disputes, showing that diplomacy and wit could be as powerful as a thunderbolt. The stories of the Olympians also delved into morality and consequence. Prometheus, the titan who defied Zeus to give fire to humanity, embodied the tension between divine authority and mortal ingenuity. His punishment, eternal torment, was both a warning and a testament to the boundaries set by the new order of gods. Yet, Prometheus' gift transformed human civilization, illustrating that even acts of defiance could have enduring significance and that the Olympians' reign, while authoritative, was not devoid of complexity or nuance. The legacy of the Olympians extended to the natural and cosmic worlds. Seasons, celestial movements, and natural phenomena were often explained through divine narratives, linking human experience to the rhythms of the cosmos. Demeter's grief over Persephone's abduction by Hades explained the cycle of growth and harvest, integrating myth into the understanding of life and death. Apollo's chariot across the sky brought sunlight, while Artemis' presence in the wild reminded mortals of nature's untamed power. Through these stories, the Olympians were not distant deities. They were intimately involved in shaping every aspect of the world. Even as centuries passed, the Olympians' reign was marked by challenges that tested their authority and wisdom. Titans occasionally attempted resurgence, monsters and chaos threatened mortal cities, and gods themselves confronted personal dilemmas that reflected human nature. But each trial reinforced the stability of Olympus and the balance of cosmic power. The narratives of struggle, triumph, and governance became lessons for both gods and mortals, a testament to the enduring significance of the Olympians' rise. The Olympians' influence also shaped morality, law, and ethics. Zeus' role as arbiter reflected principles of justice, while Athena's guidance encouraged strategy and intellect. Hera's protection of marriage underscored social cohesion, and the interactions among gods modeled consequences of pride, jealousy, and virtue. Through myth, humans learned the importance of honor, humility, and courage. These narratives became the framework for Greek society, guiding conduct, inspiring artistry, and shaping education, philosophy, and civic life. Mount Olympus, now firmly established as the center of divine power, symbolized more than authority. It was a home for stories, values, and ideals. Its peak was unreachable by mortals, yet the influence of its inhabitants touched every corner of human life. The Olympians' reign was not static. It was dynamic, full of drama, moral instruction, and divine human interaction. Through their actions, myths, and interventions, they created a tapestry of stories that would echo across generations, inspiring countless works of literature, philosophy, and art. Even as mortals looked to the heavens for guidance, the Olympians themselves were a mirror of humanity. Their triumphs, failures, passions, and wisdom reflected the full spectrum of existence, teaching that power comes with responsibility, that intelligence and strategy can surpass brute force, and that even immortals are shaped by emotion, loyalty, and justice. These lessons, embedded in myth, ensured that the rise of the Olympians would remain a timeless story, relevant to every generation. As we reflect on the reign of Zeus, Hera, and the Olympians, it becomes clear that their story is not just a tale of gods. It is the story of civilization itself. It is about the creation of order from chaos, the forging of laws, the shaping of human destiny, and the immortalization of ideals. It is a narrative that continues to inspire, captivate, and teach, transcending time and culture. And there you have it, the rise of the Olympians, from the chaos of the Titans to the glory of Mount Olympus. The stories of Zeus, Hera, and the other gods are more than myths. They are the foundation of Greek culture, a window into human nature, and a reminder that even immortals are shaped by courage, wisdom, and passion. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of the Olympians, hit that like button and let us know in the comments which god or myth fascinates you the most. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of our Greek mythology series. And remember, these myths aren't just stories. They're lessons, legends, and the echoes of a world that continues to inspire today. See you on the next journey into the age of gods, heroes, and epic tales.